Welcome to Stitches in Time, the podcast discussing Doctor Who the way it was meant to be watched, in chronological order, one clip at a time, starting at the Big Bang and ending with the heat death of the universe. I'm Becca, the Matrix Archivist, and I spent the last 12 years of my life meticulously editing the entire televised Doctor Who universe into chronological order.
And I'm Mandy, and as the proud owner of a 2018 Toyota Prius C and a 1986 Lutonian ginger wife, I am very prepared for this episode.
Excellent. That's good to know. Have you ever had to rebuild either of those things from scratch, Mandy?
Sometimes I have to give my wife some Dayquil or put gasoline in my car, and sometimes my wife is in my car, so it's very similar.
Great. I don't want to bog down our listeners with too much technical jargon, so I will also introduce to us all our very special guest. She's a musical improviser, improv teacher, and writer in LA. She also sometimes does set carpentry and prop fabrication for Dropout or other random gigs, because that's how living in LA works sometimes. She's also a trans woman, which means she's hot and cool, but also scared. Yay. Please welcome onto the show, Sara Caplan.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here.
Can I just ask one clarification question?
Sure.
Mandy, what does a Newtonian wife mean?
No, I said a Lutonian from the town of Luton in England.
I see. See, Lutonian wouldn't have made any more sense to me, but now with this explanation, it does.
It's a deep cut. Shout out Lutonians in the comments. It will, in fact, just be my wife. Enemy of the show, Pen Padded.
Enemy of the show.
And where is Luton?
It's about an hour outside of London.
North or south? Or east or west? This is what this podcast is about, right?
Yeah.
I want to say it's like north, but slightly. Okay. It's still in the south of England.
Okay, sort of equidistant from London, Oxford, and Cambridge. So
yeah.
Maybe you had one parent who taught at Oxford, and one parent who taught at Cambridge, and one parent who taught at UCL. That's my official guess on the background of your wife. Don't tell me if I'm wrong.
Amazing. That's all canon now.
My wife, you can confirm in the form of a 5-star review on this podcast.
Doesn't sound like an enemy thing to do.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they are legally allowed to do that as their enemy status. Today we're talking about the Doctor's wife, which is the 11th Doctor episode.
It's our first crossover episode with one of my favorite TV series, House MD.
Yes. Yeah.
It's also a crossover episode with one of my favorite TV series, Prodigal Son. Given the Prodigal Son stars Michael Sheen, the voice of, in this case, House.
Yeah.
This asteroid is sentient.
We walk on his back, breathe his air, eat his food,
smell its armpits,
and do my will.
I don't know why they didn't get Hugh Laurie to do it, but they made their choices.
I don't think you could do a British accent.
Oh, that's probably that makes sense. This was a longer in terms of like the kinds of clips we normally have, but in my mind I was like, it's pretty much the whole episode. But it's not really. It's like 25 minutes of it because there's a bit of the episode where Amy and Rory are being chased through the corridors of the TARDIS, and that's not in the edit because that happens while the TARDIS is in flight. So
none of that happens. They're just locked in. I do want to point out that due to the timing of this, I assume that it is one of the random number generator episodes, but.
Yes, it is.
We haven't, in the Stitches in Time universe, we've had some mention of Time Lords. We haven't really got a lot of them, but at this point in time, they are dead. They're not here right now. We know that much. I don't think that they've been alive. They're really kind of in an Adric situation where
they're all
they're
dead,
implied to be,
and then we'll
they're
find out
born
about
dead,
them later. Yeah.
and they come alive later.
Well, I was a little confused about that because the asteroid in which this whole episode takes place is outside of the universe, right? It's like
Yes.
How can we be outside the universe? The universe is everything.
Imagine a great big soap bubble with one of those tiny little bubbles on the outside.
Okay.
But it's nothing like that.
it doesn't exist on the timeline.
Well, so here's where it
It
gets
exists
a little
in time,
funky.
just not in space.
Yeah, it exists. It's like a parallel universe that, like, in my mind, which is the mind that matters for this project, apparently, is moving along through time sort of parallel to us, but it's like a different universe, which is sort of what we had with when we talked about Full Circle, because that was, we were talking about E-Space, which is a different timeline, or not different timeline, but different universe, I think. So we can, as the viewers, hop around within our own universe from, like, Earth and other places, and also hop to other universes, as long as we're just going forward in time.
So what I'm learning is that there is our universe, and then there is another universe, and that other universe encompasses Silent Hill, which is where Adric comes from, and just a car junkyard.
Yeah,
And that's what the outside is.
it's pretty much.
The plot is driven by the idea that no more Time Lords are coming because the Time Lords are all dead.
Right.
Again, that assumes this asteroid exists in any meaningful chronology in parallel with the Doctor's chronology, which I feel like is not a safe assumption. Like, Time Lords travel around in time, right?
Right.
So can't they... Why does... unless he's gone and done a full census and been like, yes, every Time Lord... I've confirmed every Time Lord that has ever been a Time Lord and ever will be a Time Lord has come and died on this planet already, except for me.
Well, now, you see, I think that also, like, that sort of begs the question of, like, yeah, if Time Lords have time travel,
Why aren't there any in the show?
Yeah, why aren't there, like, it's just, like, why does he keep being like, oh, I'm the last of the Time Lords? And there's, like, yeah, but you could surely go back in time to when there were Time Lords, right?
Is because the Doctor isn't the only one traveling around in time.
Right. Or, well,
Maybe.
I don't know. Yeah.
If other Time Lords were traveling around in time before the destruction of Gallifrey, even if they all convened back on Gallifrey and died at the same time, except for the Doctor and, like, the few of the Master or whatever, surely he would be encountering Time Lords and been like, oh, yeah, you haven't died on Gallifrey yet, but before you died on Gallifrey, you took a trip here to visit Shakespeare at the same time I did.
Right. Like... Yes. I think this is less a question about why Stitches in Time is confusing and more a question of why Doctor Who is confusing.
Yeah. That's really what I'm getting at.
I will say, Sarah, I do a little bit reject the premise that the forward momentum of this episode is really about the death of all of these Time Lords having, like, they're all gone. I would say that the forward momentum of this episode is really wanting to fuck your car wife.
Well, I mean, that's fair, but I feel like that's the premise of every Doctor Who episode.
But making sure it's not gay, so it has to be a lady, like the Garfield monstrosity.
I'm the TARDIS.
No, you're not. You're a bitey mad lady. The TARDIS is up and downy stuff in a big blue box.
Yes, that's me.
That's true. I mean, I have a lot of questions. Okay, listener, if you're listening to this podcast, you're probably like,
Which I'll remind you, you are.
Which you are currently.
Spoilers.
I'm going to go ahead and guess that you're one of a couple different categories of people. Like, some of you might know Becca or Mandy, or in this episode's case, me personally, and that's why you're giving it a listen. And you might not know anything about Doctor Who. That's fair. But if you don't know any of these people personally, and you're listening to this podcast, that means you probably fucking love Doctor Who, right?
God, I hope so. I don't know why anyone would.
They really hate me specifically.
Well, I'm going to say, listener, you know more than I do about this show. I've seen most of the reboot, definitely up into Capaldi episodes, but boy, it's been a long time. And so my knowledge of things like, wait, the TARDIS has a soul, is pretty lacking.
I did want to ask, Sarah, what is your experience with Doctor Who? How did you first get into it?
My senior year of high school. I don't know when streaming started. It was kind of around then. I was either streaming these legally or illegally.
Sure.
But my senior year of high school, which was 2011, I binge watched like everything from Eccleston into the first year of Matt Smith in the span of like 2 weeks. And
wow.
Have not rewatched those episodes since then. I did keep up with the Matt Smith episodes. I gave
You
Capaldi...
definitely retained it into your long-term memory.
Yeah, all of it. I'm a master of the canon. And I fell off in the middle of the Capaldi seasons because controversial Doctor Who take. Clara wasn't for me. And then I tried it again.
I don't think that is a controversial Doctor Who take.
I know.
I love Clara, and that's a controversial Doctor Who take.
I know, it's not actually controversial. It's controversial amongst people who like really love Doctor Who. Like people who really love Doctor Who love Clara. And then dirty casuals like me tend to be the ones who are like, I just didn't get it.
Dirty casual.
And then I watched the first episode of Trans Doctor Who, and I didn't think it was very good, so I didn't watch the rest of them. That's my entire background with Doctor Who. That's everything.
I mean, that's great. And also, everything you said is correct. Like,
oh, good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why don't I, as the definite Doctor Who expert, don't I do my signature segment and Mandy-splain this episode for us all?
Please.
So,
and this is in the context of Stitches in Time, of course.
And wait, Mandy, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Listener, don't listen to this because this is going to like break the meta of the podcast. But I need to know this, Mandy. Are you actually the resident Doctor Who expert on the podcast?
I am the resident. I watched the episode. I've watched this episode probably a few times in how long have I been, like the 15 years that I've been a Doctor Who fan? And I definitely remember, this is one of the episodes that I do remember, but also watching it, I was definitely feeling that it felt new.
I was just trying to decide if the Mandy-splaining Doctor Who, because you're the expert, is that ironic or is that genuine? Because it could be either one. I'm like, either Mandy's the Doctor Who.
Let me give you some context for this, Sarah. At the beginning of this episode, I explained how I meticulously edited all of Doctor Who into chronological order, which is
I know you did.
21-day long fan film, and Mandy explained that she has a wife and a car. So that's I think
okay. So
credentials. And we know at the level that we're at.
So Mandy is the expert, and now I understand. Thank you.
Yeah, I am really just kind of a supporter of particularly the Stitches in Time. I have heard the good word, and so my job is to kind of spread. I'm kind of like a Luke or a Matthew to Becca's Jesus Christ.
Okay.
I'm here to spread the gospel.
Yeah, you're an apostle.
And the comparison to Jesus Christ is one that I fully embrace wholeheartedly.
As you should.
Get in the comments, everyone.
Well, this is your chance. Becca's still alive. I mean, people are still like obsessed with Jesus 2,000 years later. And if
That's
you
true.
were in on the ground floor, you made bank. You know,
Get on this now.
Yeah.
you don't want to
Yeah.
be someone 2,000 years from now being like, oh wow, you know, she is cool. Like,
everybody in my life right now is. I knew Becca before she was cool.
I knew Becca before she was our chosen savior of all.
Okay, I'm sorry I interrupted. I needed context because I wanted to be in on the joke. I just needed to know which one I was in on. Please, Mandy, explain this episode.
Okay, so this is kind of a from our previous episode, we were in E-Space for a little bit. We had to do like another Zoom call to deal with kind of the frustrations of E-Space. And seems like maybe the 11th Doctor, or not Matt Smith, who is not the 11th Doctor. He is the insert Doctor number.
He's the first Doctor, I believe.
Oh, the first Doctor.
Yeah.
So the first Doctor,
canon?
Matt Smith. In Stitches in Time canon, Matt Smith is the
Oh,
first
in
Doctor.
Stitches in Time. Oh, is this the first chunk of Stitches in Time where you've seen the Doctor? Or has he appeared previously?
Oh no, he's appeared previously, but he was the first Doctor to appear on screen in this edit.
Love it.
To go see some graffiti. But Matt Smith goes into outside of the universe in order to help, and they end up just kind of in a trash heap, and their car breaks down, and the car being the TARDIS. And then separately, there's this grouping of people who get a lady and be like, hey, your lucky day, lady, you're gonna die, and then we're gonna put somebody else into your bones. And they put the car into the lady so that people can go, oh, hot car, sexy lady.
Do you have a name?
700 years, finally, he asks.
So what I call you?
I think you call me sexy.
Only when we're alone.
And that's what the episode is. And there's House MD owns the planet. He owns the scrapyard and is really into eating cars. Like he just chomps them up. I'm guessing, like I don't super remember the later seasons of House, but I know the big premise is that like because he's injured and he has a drug addiction, and they usually have a lot of episodes that kind of like revolve around, oh, we're not letting House have Vicodin anymore. And I have to assume that this is part of the later seasons where he isn't allowed to have Vicodin anymore.
Yeah.
So he's starting to devour the energy of the TARDIS in order to heal the pain from his injured leg.
I don't want to be a pedantic asshole about this, but that's not quite right. It is true that he gets off Vicodin, but canonically he doesn't start devouring the souls of TARDISes until Wilson dies, and so it's not for the pain of his leg; it's to fill his poor gay heart.
Very
sense.
Important addition.
Thank you for clearing that up.
You're welcome. If you want to learn more, you can check out my podcast, True House Facts.
House MD in chronological order. Which is just like the bits from that first season episode where they do the reveal of this is how House got injured, and then the rest of the series. Yeah, so we are on this planet, and House MD is gonna nom 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 nom. The TARDIS lady, and also Amy and Rory are stuck in the dead TARDIS. They're just in the bones because the Doctor thought it would be a good idea of like, hey, this seems dangerous. I'm gonna lock you in a car and put the child locks on. But then that turns out to be a bad idea because he was like, no, I'm gonna also eat the outside of the car. Nom 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 nom.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's accurate. I also do want to point out, we did just have the doctors all on a Zoom call together in the previous episode. And then in this episode, Matt Smith opens up...
Did that actually happen?
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Oh, it has happened so many times.
It's happened.
They have had so many Zoom calls.
Since when?
This was... Okay, so...
When did that start as a tradition?
This was a...
I did some mistakes in my life, and now I'm being punished by an unfair god to watch all of the doctors with voices that are approximations of their accents.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, so some of them are pretty good impressions of the doctors. Talking to each other on Zoom, because...
And some of them are other voices. The Jody one is just a lady.
Yeah.
They just got a lady.
Do we know a lady? Let's get her.
Wait, why wouldn't they just get Jodie Foster to do it?
Because they don't got that money. Also, did you say Jodie Foster?
Well, whatever. Jodie Foster.
They got Jodie Foster to play Jodie Whittaker.
You know what I mean? Same shit.
No,
ladies is ladies.
This is all. It's like we were talking. We had a guest on who was talking about how he could never think of Christopher Eccleston's name, so he just called him Jason Statham. And so exactly. Now we have Jodie Foster as the 13th Doctor.
I mean, as far as I can tell, it's correct.
Yeah. So they were all on a Zoom call with each other. And then in this, cut to this episode, and Matt Smith at one point opens a cabinet full of other Time Lords also having Zoom calls. But all of them are on mute and can't figure out how to unmute themselves.
Which, in a sense,
it's
is
like
a stirring statement.
Yeah.
It's that thing of, because there's the CEO of Zoom wants to have like AI Zoom calls where instead of you going to the Zoom meeting, you have an AI version of yourself go to the Zoom meeting. And that's just showing the prototype of that.
Oh, is that what that was?
Yeah, and Matt Smith is just on a Zoom call with various AI versions.
I, for one, am excited for that. And what I can't get any smart computer person to explain to me in a way that I will accept is, isn't that already an AI version of me?
Ooh.
I don't know if you're a real person or not. I usually don't have to question that about the people on our podcast. And maybe that's on me. I've just been assuming that Becca has been getting real people on the show.
I guess I'm asking, like, what's the difference between, like, an AI model of you and just a streamed video of you? Like, it's still, like, a digital output controlled by a camera.
I feel like we're approaching the Star Trek question of, like, yeah, but when you use a teleporter, you actually die, and you just, like...
Oh, well, yeah,
it's obviously not the same... Yeah, I think it's that kind of thing of...
And they take your poop out when you travel. Have you heard that bit of they take...
No, what?
Like... So there is a whole idea that, because they have to take like the same amount of like mass, but why are they going to also transport your poop? They're not going to transport your poop. And then so people have the idea of like, when you go, they just take, if there's anything out of your bowels, they're just going to take it. And they're like, well, what are they going to do with all this poop? And be like, well, matter is matter. And they have all of like the little generators and the things that make the replicators.
Yeah.
They use your poop in the replicators, and then you're just eating poop the whole time.
I agree with the conclusion. I don't think it makes sense to say they're getting your poop when you are transported.
But what's the point? Because otherwise that's extraneous energy to...
They wear clothes.
No, they're only going to transport all of you. Like they're taking, like they have to redo all of your matter at the same time. Like, don't remake the poop. Just take the poop. Out.
There's so many other things that are extraneous.
Take some of my love handles too while you're at it. Just let's trim the whole thing up. Why not?
They wear clothes. They teleport places frivolously. I don't think they're that concerned with energy economy.
I think they're concerned with we're busy. Why we don't want to sit and poop.
It's fair enough. Welcome back to Stitches and Trek, the podcast where we answer the important questions about Star Trek.
My personal feeling is that they do take the poop out when you use the teleporter, but they just send it to this junkyard planet that in Doctor Who.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
They probably don't even realize they're doing it.
Yeah, it's just where it ends up.
Yeah. Just lured there by videos of various poop distress calls.
There are entire societies of poop folk that
why not?
Yeah, sure. Life finds a way.
Poop is alive.
I have a question I know it will pertain to you, Sarah. I don't know this factoid about you, so to kind of set the scene, do you or have you ever owned a car?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So you can also talk from this experience. Imagine if your car got a mouth for the first time and its first instinct was to try to bite your ear off. Would you get in that car again? Because I don't think I'd get in that car again.
You know, I've done worse things to my car than that. And
so you're deserving of the bite.
And it still lets me drive it. So, like, it would seem hypocritical to end a relationship over that when it's been so forgiving and patient.
But that's just... This feels like an I have no mouth and I must scream. I have no mouth and I must bite your ear off.
Now, Mandy...
Of your car wants to.
Can I introduce another variable to this hypothetical? What if your car was the last car in the universe?
But my car is also very down for me to hang out in the graveyard of all of the other cars and then take their bones and Frankenstein a new car together.
You were thinking you could build a working TARDIS console out of broken remnants of 100 different models. And you don't care that it's impossible.
And we'll even be, I'm gonna put some of my juice in that.
You can't hold the charge, you can't even stop, there's no power!
You have what you've always had. You've got me.
I'm gonna juice up this Frankenstein monster.
I think there's a difference between car parts and, like, organic body parts. You know? But again, it gets back to the question of TARDIS has soul?
TARDIS has soul?
Mandy, would you explain to me, what is a TARDIS?
Mandy, explain to me, what is a soul?
Yeah.
Oh, the TARDIS has soul, but the TARDIS is not a soldier.
Oh, that's so true. I guess now I get it. But actually, what is a TARDIS? Is it a creature? Is it a machine?
It is sexy. It is a sexual being, an erotic creature.
So here's the thing, even Doctor Who, even what we've seen of Stitches in Time, like, is a little bit not clear about it, because there's that...
Not at all.
We were watching that first Doctor episode, that William Hartnell episode. I don't remember which Doctor he is. Third, maybe? Where he just says, like, my machine can't think. What are you talking about? Oh, it can think as a computer, probably.
But that's an important distinction, because William Hart, like, that is the bit of why when Stephen Moffat did the whole the two doctor thing with William Hartnell, why he made him so sexist, because clearly he just hates his wife. That was like a old guy hates his wife joke.
That makes sense. William Hartnell is just like a boring cis stand-up comic, just like, so my wife sucks. Anybody?
He thinks the TARDIS has a soul, but also thinks that she should not have rights.
Yeah, I mean, Doctor Who just, like, doesn't make sense, right?
Well, it only makes sense if you watch it in the Stitches in Time order.
Yeah.
Okay, so, Becca, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
I'm sure you've talked about this on this podcast. But why?
I think Beck has to answer this question every episode of this podcast.
You have to, but it must be answered.
I have to answer this question every time I tell anyone about this podcast.
All right, let me ask a more specific lens on it.
Sure.
Of all the shows that you could have made a 21-day fan edit of, why is Doctor Who the one that, like, won out in your heart?
It's so broken. It's so wrong.
It's the most broken one I've found, really. They aired it completely out of order. They start in the 1960s. Well, why wouldn't you start at the beginning of the universe? If you're going to talk about the beginning of the universe, you're going to talk about the end of the universe. Why not take us through it? What is all these people have flashbacks and I don't know. I can't make sense of it.
This does imply, Becca, that your alternate universe version of doing other shows would be to just insert the beginning of the universe and then they just have billions of years of just like a black screen, and then the nanny plays as usual.
No, I'm just saying, if the nanny is gonna put the beginning of the universe in their show, why wouldn't it be at the beginning of the pilot?
I have another question for all of you. Okay. So, in the episode, again, Gregory House MD pulls the soul of the TARDIS and puts it in a lady. Conveniently, just some lady they had in a full ball gown, giving definitely... We ordered Helena Bonham Carter off Wish, and this is the lady that we got. Yeah. But we were shown 3 different people. Do we think that the first Doctor, Matt Smith, would still have been so horny for his car wife if it had been one of the other 2 people, including one of whom is implied to have Corsair hand, which they made to be very important, but I have not encountered the Corsair. I don't know who that is. I do know it's someone with a big hand and a tattoo, so I think it's some kind of gang. I think it's some kind of prison gang.
It's a Time Lord.
A Time Lord prison gang.
Yes, correct. It's a Time Lord prison gang. Their rivals are the Gala Freaks, and they fight for Dominion.
I want to watch that show. Where's that show?
Oh, it sounds like you should be watching Riverdale.
Oh.
Oh, that would be a fun order to put things in.
A fine order to put things... The Riverdale order?
Yeah, the proper by the universe Riverdale order.
Yes. Well, I'll say this. The proper order of Riverdale is to only watch Season 6. Which is why I have a podcast called Riverdale Season 6. The podcast.
That's amazing. What is that? Is that like a rewatch podcast? What do you talk
It's
about?
A rewatch podcast.
For each episode of Riverdale, you just watch the entirety of Season 6 and just talk about it. And then next week we'll be watching Season 2, Episode 4. And then you talk about the entirety of Season 6 of Riverdale.
That's almost it. What it is it's my co-host Omar Najam and I are rewatching Riverdale Season 6 because we genuinely are fans of the show. But we invite guests who've never seen Riverdale and have them just watch the episode of Season 6 we're talking about.
Ooh. That sounds great.
Yeah. For context, Riverdale Season 6, it's very similar to this Doctor Who episode. The first 4 episodes take place in a splinter universe called Rivervale, where the laws of physics and time no longer apply, and they all end up... Once the 2 Splinterverses collapse, they all end up getting superpowers, which they need to fight an immortal racist warlock. So, pretty similar.
Don't they end up like I watched the first few seasons of Riverdale. I know like I've heard a lot about the season 6 and I need to go. I just kind of like part of me I haven't decided whether I want to just immediately jump in or like catch up on what I
Yeah.
missed to get to that point. I do know I saw a lot of screenshots of them wearing Neon Genesis Evangelion uniforms. So clearly they were in a place.
Yeah, it's I would say the best season of any TV show of all time. Highly recommend watching it. There's an immortal lesbian witch romance episode. Yeah, there's one episode where they poison the devil with a strawberry milkshake filled with holy water. Sorry, not holy water. The tears the Virgin Mary shed at the crucifixion.
Wow.
Important, the holiest of water.
Mhm.
We
Yeah.
already, unfortunately, you missed our lesbian witch episode, which was
damn.
the Amy self-cessed bit.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Amy hitting on herself.
Women can't meet versions of themselves in television shows without wanting to fuck. That's just like
Yeah.
Not in Stephen Moffat's America.
I'm thinking like the two Beths and Rick and Morty have
Oh,
like, an
yeah.
affair. Like
Mhm.
TV writers just want to see women fuck alternate versions of themselves.
I mean, I'd fuck an alternate version of myself.
Obviously. No, I mean, I think it's the more honest take. Like, in part, it's motivated by misogyny, but the misogyny isn't that the women want to fuck the versions of themselves. It's that we never see the men doing it.
Right.
But everyone would. Come on.
I'm thinking like, okay, if I time traveled back to myself pre-transition, would I have?
I mean,
It's kind of weird.
that feels. I don't know why, but the idea of fucking myself pre-transition all of a sudden feels taboo and wrong.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I don't know what that is, but it's really weird.
I think because I know that that person wouldn't actually be into anything that was happening.
I'm just thinking myself now, I'm like, would that guy have been into like, this is what you have to look forward to? Like, just...
Yeah.
The only pleasure you can derive is that someday you will be on the other side of this encounter and be able to experience it.
I'm not feeling at my most self-confident attraction and sexiness wise these days. So I think if myself from a couple years ago time traveled back to my pre-transition self, that would have been more enjoyable for my pre-transition self. My current self, he'd be like, so I transition and everything's fine, and I'd just be like, yeah, I mean, there's a brief window where things seem good, but do you know Donald Trump?
The guy from The Apprentice?
Yeah, the Supreme Court has sort of ruled that in his now in his second term as president, after he already kind of led a revolution storming the U.S. Capitol, he can kind of do whatever he wants. Anyway, here's the WhatsApp number from a pharmacy in China. You can buy a kilogram of estradiol powder from.
Yeah, this is kind of a trans episode in the sense that like a box becomes a lady. Which is kind of what happened to me. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the process of trying to get a box, so.
As the resident cis person of this podcast, the only thing that I can say is #valid ally.
Correct. 10 points.
Yes, but
such a good ally.
We have, as we are now 40 minutes into us talking, we can reveal that the entire premise of this podcast is actually just to reveal where you can get hormones.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm not going to tell you on a public forum like this, but if you message me on Discord and you're actually trans and you're worried about that, I can link you to resources where you can educate yourself.
The FBI isn't going to listen this far. You're fine. Our podcast is very boring, and we do it like this on purpose.
It's actually less about the FBI. The thing is, like, it's kind of complicated. You might
Yeah,
not even want
I know the non-joke reasons for this. I unfortunately have to joke my way through it.
No, that's not possible. We have to get real. So if you think of HRT as sort of like a TARDIS matrix, then you could think of the FBI sort of as like maybe an asteroid itself. It's like a whole planet, maybe, or something. It's anyway. The FBI is voiced by Michael Sheen, and it eats HRT.
And it walks with a limp and has a cane.
It walks with a limp and has a cane. And it will if you leave your soulless car, if you lock your two human pets in a soulless car, the FBI is liable to just possess it and get out of there with them.
Amy! Rory, get the hell out of there! Doctor, something's wrong. It's House. She's after the TARDIS. Just get out, both of you.
And then send a squid guy at him.
I like the implication that Amy and Rory are the Doctor's chihuahuas that he left in a hot car.
That's very much what it is, right?
That's exactly what happened. Oh my god, I love this so much.
I'm still stuck on the TARDIS soul thing. Like, they're sentient beings, clearly.
Yeah. And it's one of those things that's like kind of been hinted at really only in the new series, not so much in Classic Who. There is some idea of like sentience to it. And so this episode, one of the things I really like about this episode is that she has that line of like,
you know, you have never been very reliable.
And you have.
You didn't always take me where I wanted to go.
No, but I always took you where you needed to go.
it sort of recontextualizes the whole show of like, oh yeah, every time he steps out of that TARDIS, he's like solving a problem.
Do you think that the reason that new Doctor Who has kind of put in this implication that the TARDIS has a soul comes from a place of, because a lot of the people who are now working on the show grew up watching the show, and is it kind of like a Bill Cipher, Sans Undertale situation where they saw it at an impressionable age, got horny, and are now trying to legitimize their horniness?
You think they want to fuck the TARDIS?
They've always wanted to fuck the TARDIS, and this episode makes it okay for them to do so.
I mean, this episode was written by Neil Gaiman, which with what we know of him now.
Yeah.
What we know of him now, I think, runs
makes a lot of
counter
sense.
to your thesis here, Mandy, because he wouldn't be worried about making it okay.
Oh my god.
Oh no.
I think that's the best joke we've ever had on this show.
I think if someone wanted to fuck the TARDIS, they wouldn't put her in a human lady body, because that's removes anything erotic about your TARDIS fetish. Instead, they'd be like, in this episode,
I'm just thinking, like, I spent a lot of time on, like, the Tumblr sexy man, where it doesn't matter what the actual character is, we're going to make it a blonde skinny dude, because we know how to fuck that. And this seems like the equivalent.
but the people who grew up like impressionable youngsters having their sexual awakening to the da-da-da-dan, 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 I mean, were they really being like, yeah, it's something about the essence of the TARDIS I want to fuck. It's like, I'm imagining what the TARDIS would be like with tits, and I want to fuck it. Like, to me, it's like, if you want to fuck a car, you want to fuck a car. Like, the TARDIS fucking episode would be like, and this is the episode, Amy, where I show you all of the wonderful ports that the TARDIS has. This one's squishy, this one's warm.
As someone who has been to a lot of Doctor Who conventions and has seen a lot of Doctor Who cosplay, and specifically the 80,000 TARDIS corsets, we figured out how to put tits on a TARDIS.
Yeah, that's what you do.
Like that's the number one cosplay is, I'm a TARDIS, but I got titties.
Right. And this feels like, maybe because of Neil Gaiman's fundamental disconnect from empathetic, consent-based, mutual human sex. Maybe the assignment was, I want you to write an episode where we get to fuck the TARDIS, and he was like, okay, make it lady. And then everyone in the writer's room was like, no, you missed the point, Neil. But it was too late.
We wanted to fuck the TARDIS. We didn't want to fuck this lady.
They want to fuck a human?
You wanted more of, like, the sonic impreg of TARDIS fucking.
Yeah. Where's the TARDIS impreg?
Yeah. Gets so much bigger on the inside.
Yeah. It's so much bigger on it. Yeah, exactly.
I think anyone who's really into the TARDIS, I have to assume that they must also be into Vor, because there's so much emphasis on the TARDIS being bigger on the inside. So let's all get inside of the TARDIS. And the TARDIS really likes when we're all inside of her.
But you're never, the TARDIS is rarely, like, every now and again, but it's rarely, like, eating you against your will. I agree that it's a relative of Vor.
Well, because Vor, and correct me if I'm wrong, but Vor doesn't have to always be kind of like a forced Vor. Like, because sometimes I feel like there's some amount of, I would love for you to eat me, Vor. I don't like shout off in the comments, and again the comments in the form of a 5-star review of if you're a particular Vor person, like what are the intricacies of the Vor?
Yeah, I would love to know as well. I would say we can do a little survey. So leave a 5-star review if you do think unlocking and opening the door of a police box and walking inside would satisfy a Vor. And then leave a 5-star review if you think that it wouldn't.
I thought you were going to say leave a 5-star review on my season 6 of Riverdale.
No, I don't care. Yeah, y'all can go listen to that if you want. We started off strong. We recorded 17 episodes and out of 24, and we'll see if we ever go back to finish it.
Amazing. Well, if you need guests, I have never seen Riverdale, so
perfect.
I would be down.
Maybe we should just skip straight to season 2, Riverdale Season 6 again.
I really love that you would have Riverdale Season 6, Season 2. That makes me very happy.
Yeah. So she has a soul. She gets removed. I don't understand what the TARDIS matrix is that's different from the soul, but also different from the box.
I think it is the soul.
Like it seems, I think there's a little bit of like a Holy Trinity kind of thing. Of like, well, it's all the TARDIS, but the TARDIS it's the Father, the Son, the mommy milkers.
I see. So wait, can you remind me, did House MD want to eat the box or want to eat the lady?
I think he wants to, I feel like he wants to eat all of it, but if he does it, the lady will like make the world explode. So they're like, well, we gotta take some of the explodey bit and put it over here, and then we can nom 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 nom.
Right, but then Matt Smith, the First Doctor, says, "Hey, it's the last one, so if you eat the whole thing, you're done." And then House is like, can't have that. I guess I'll steal it instead. I'll steal your car with the chihuahuas inside.
Is Doctor Who an Avatar fanfic?
The Last Airbender or James Cameron?
The Last Airbender. Because now I'm thinking the TARDIS is just Appa, and the Gallifreyans are just the Airbenders. I'm really thinking they just stole all of this from Avatar.
Yeah, that might be it. The humans are the Earth Nation because they're from Earth.
Yeah,
a planet named after
named
after
dirt.
Earth.
Yeah, it's all coming together.
Mm-hmm.
Amy is Katara, Rory is Momo.
So it's the live action Avatar: The Last Airbender where they whitewashed everyone.
No, but it is a British fanfic of a property, so
right, yeah, that makes sense.
There was a black companion once, briefly.
There have been 2 now. And now there's a Black Doctor. So...
There you go. Is he gonna be gay for whatever that means to the Doctor?
Yeah.
Yeah, he been do so. He do so.
He got gay. He got gay this past season.
I apologize, Becca. I'm very, very sorry for my wrong terminology. He
right.
will have been do so. He will have been do so. We'll see that in 45 years, I think,
Something
of this
like that.
show.
Yeah.
A little future perfect. What? Oh, so what does it mean for him to be gay? Is he? Does the Doctor is he a sexual being?
I don't think that we count the books in the Stitches of Time universe, so we don't have the loom. We don't have the asexual loom. So the Doctor does fuck. Because we have, in our canon, we have the TV movie, and we do not have the loom. And that does at least confirm that the Doctor is romantic.
Can you talk about the loom for our listeners? And definitely not me. Like, I know everything about Doctor Who.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
I've only heard tell of in like the Doctor Who extended novels that happened in between classic Doctor Who and new Doctor Who, and it was just like canceled and ephemeral. They made this kind of story about the Time Lords, and apparently Time Lords are asexual, but specifically because they were cursed by a witch.
What?
A witch took away their horny. As happens, Becca knows she did a musical about it. And now the way that the Time Lords reproduce is through a loom. They have to weave on a loom, but instead they make David Tennant. Well, they did it, and he broke it, and then he undid the witch powers.
That makes sense. Yeah.
All for fucking Rose. Which, like, fine.
You got rose beef? You got rose beef? Rose beef as a
roast beef.
separate. I need to be clear. I'm not saying roast beef. You have issues.
Wait. You got roast beef?
I wish. I have beef with every companion. But I specifically have beef with Clara and Rose, and I guess Amy, because the Doctor falling in love with a human being doesn't make sense. It's fundamentally, in my opinion,
it's fine when it's Sarah Jane Smith and the Doctor in the 8th movie, or in the TV movie, who I love, but I'm also bad at names, so I do not remember anyone's names in that. I know that Will Sasso is in it.
And you know what? If you're citing anything from before Christopher Eccleston, yes, I know what you're talking about. Definitely, I hate them too.
Take that, Dr. Grace Holloway.
Did y'all watch the Watchmen TV show?
I have not seen it, no.
For some reason, they take Dr. Manhattan post the events of Watchmen, the graphic novel or movie, and have him like fall in love with just like a normal ass cop lady. And it's a huge part of the plot that it's like Dr. Manhattan's in love with this person. And I'm sorry, if something is functionally a god, it's not going to love a human being. It just can't. A Time Lord, thousands of years old, with experience of the fucking entire universe and whatever, it's not going to love
Sarah,
Rose from Essex.
I hear you, and I think you have some good points, but my thing is, everybody I've ever dated has, like, I have been as a god to them, and I've still fallen in love with them, even though I'm me and they're them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I'm worshipped by my wife and by a car every day.
These are good points that I have no counter arguments for.
And I also, like, I do kind of understand that as a premise of like, oh, why and how. I will say that that's usually the actual story that they're dealing with in kind of stories like this. It's like every instance you have had one of those lines of "you are thousands of years old, how could you love me?" And I would go on to say that usually the stories that are doing that are in some respect actually asking that question and playing with it, and that might be where the premise of a story could be. But also we have named so many examples that I think it's fair to say that it does happen. It has continued, and that's the bit, because I know a lot of people who also, they really don't like it. That is the entire reason for the looms, is that they did not like the idea that the Doctor in the TV movie kiss someone, so they're like, no, we have to make doctors asexual, they cannot be romantic with humans. Like, that was their fix to that exact complaint. But the fact that it has happened so many times, of like, I think it's fair to say that happens.
Yeah, and it just shouldn't. I'm saying that's a mistake by the writers. It's like, if you look at like an 80-year-old dude dating like a 25-year-old or a 26-year-old, you're gonna be like, sure, she's the 25-year-old's an adult and like can make their own choices and stuff, but it still feels skeevy and weird.
Oh, so there's a difference between, we can find it problematic, problematic age gaps. We can talk about that.
So there's that level. But then I think, like, once you're at the scale of a god loving a human being, I just don't believe it. The Doctor is far too much a human for what he canonically otherwise is.
Yeah, because the Doctor's also a dumb little bitch.
But
I mean, also, if the rest of your race is extinct, I feel
kill
like
yourself.
You kind of have to like take it where you can get it.
Sorry.
Yeah,
why is he
like,
fighting so hard?
There does seem to be like a lot of the premise of, oh, why is the Doctor interacting with humans? A lot of it does kind of come from a like, oh, he love them, and it's a little, I do think that it's fair to be like, this doesn't seem like a good healthy standard for a relationship that we should imitate in any real life, but don't worry, we can't. He's not real. The Doctor can't hurt you.
And I just want to watch a TV show about a guy who, when he has to interact with a human, is like, at best, treats them like a pretty smart mouse.
I mean, okay, but if I can just, and I am playing devil's advocate here, and
Master's advocate.
I'm playing the master's advocate here. If all humans were dead, but also all mice were sentient and looked exactly like humans,
sure,
I feel like I would fuck a mouse. Like, that's the scenario in which I would do that. I feel like...
I don't know, because...
that's the scenario that the Doctor finds himself in.
If I may play the actual master's advocate, why would you fuck a mouse when you can fuck the master, who's been here the whole time?
And hot.
So many times.
And that's... And if I may play us from towards the beginning of this episode's advocate, why in this scenario would you fuck a mouse when you have a time machine and you could jump back to when your species is still alive?
These are all great points.
If I may play Stephen Moffat's PR person, shut up about that. I'm trying to write a season of television.
And I will say to you, Stephen Moffat's PR person, boo, bring back Russell T Davies, Sherlock sucks.
They would reply, ooh, they did, and you're still not watching it.
No, I'm not. I have so much isekai to watch, you don't understand. There's so many people being reincarnated as various things, and I need to watch them all.
I like isekais become the big genre now.
Yeah.
And I can't really say anything because a lot of my favorite stories are isekai, but I liked when it was shoujo isekai. I liked when it was Inuyasha and Fushigi Yugi and shit like that. I don't like I got hit by a bus and now I have D&D rules.
Yeah, it's like crazy that it's not even D&D rules. It's like extremely specific rules. It's like, of course the other world has an adventurers guild with a various letter-named rank system where you can trade in goblin ears for money.
And it's all like that because they're all based off of light novels that are not written in any way to be like entertaining literature. They're written for you to be as autistic as possible and have a special interest just in the different rules of the world. So they're usually like technical manuals of how the world works. And then here's the steps that you have to do to fuck this lady.
What's really been like frustrating me, I love isekai, and there's so many that I think are amazing. The trope that most pisses me off, I can get behind the weird adventurers guild that's in every single alternate fantasy universe. I don't mind it. What I hate are the ones where it's like, yeah, I have this opportunity to exist in a world of magic and wonder, and you know what I'm gonna do with my unique magical gift? I'm gonna start a little business. I'm gonna start a little job. I'm gonna give myself a little business. I'm gonna get employees. I'm gonna do some fantasy capitalism. And I hate that. Go back to fighting monsters. But there's a lot that are good.
I will, in fairness to them, if I got stuck in a fantasy world, I would be like, well, I'm still just as capable of fighting dragons now than I am in the regular world. So I'm gonna live out my dream and fantasy ability to own a business of like, I'll sell some meat pies. I'll make some pie. I'll do a little bakery. I'll do a little shop. You can have a little chat in a tavern.
You're getting reincarnated. You're not getting reincarnated as yourself. You're being reincarnated. It's like Mandy, except now you just so happen to be like an S tier at everything. Or your arm is also
well, I'm already an S tier at everything, so check that.
Damn! Yeah, when Mandy said she's just as capable of slaying dragons as she is now, she means she is...
Extremely.
Incredibly.
Yes.
Fair enough. All right, you know what? I shouldn't have assumed you couldn't slay a dragon in our universe. And...
why do you think you haven't seen a dragon?
Because you drove them extinct, you fucked up monster.
There's one last dragon in existence, but it looks like a human and sometimes fucks other humans.
Fucking mice for some reason.
But it's okay because I stole its skin and I'm gonna use its skin to break into the other universe. And inside of that skin are just like 2 little lizards.
Well, that's fine because when you stole its skin, I took its soul and I put it in the body of a hot lady so I can fuck it.
Sarah, where can people find you on...
This is the last unicorn, right? That's the last unicorn?
Dragon. Where can people find me?
Where can people find you on the web?
You can find me on Instagram at Sara Rose Caplan. Sarah with no H, Rose like the flower, Caplan with a C. And if you live in LA, you can find me doing improv at Upright Citizens Brigade. I'm on Herald Nights on Mondays, and I have a dramatic sung-through narrative musical improv show called Dramatique. And go listen to the Riverdale pod. You know what? Go listen to it and leave nice reviews, and then Venmo me money. And then come by my house at like 3 a.m. and just sort of tap on the windows. And and maybe I'll make more episodes.
Validate this parasocial relationship.
Mm-hmm.
I am so I'm so tired of only having parasocial relationships with other people. Someone parasocial me.
Amazing. Well, Sarah, thank you so much for coming on this.
Thanks so much for having me. This was
show.
Super fun.
I'm glad. And yeah, next episode we're talking about is the one the man
big one. We pop in the biggest bottles when Castrovulva drops.
Castrovulva.
The castration vulva.
Go
fantastic.
Give us and Riverdale Season 6 some love on the podcast ratings.
Tune in next time when all my dreams come true.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for listening to Stitches in Time. Music by Becca McGlynn. Art by Mandy Akenda. Logo by Ben Patton. produced by Becca McGlynn and Ben Patton. Did you know you can listen to this podcast with your eyeballs? Subscribe to us on YouTube.
At the end, the Doctor gives this like really mean, vindictive speech at Auntie and Uncle, and it's like, "That's all you are, patchwork people. You don't even have your own bodies anymore." And I'm like sitting here like looking at the 11th Doctor. Like, really, my dude?
And it's great that he does this immediately before, once again, Frankensteining the body parts of the relatives of his wife, including a little bit of his wife, and be like, "Hey, wife, just like bloop right in there."
Yeah.
And be like, a little bit of a hypocrite.
Just a red flag, red flags to look out for in sort of immortal ancient gods who might want to fuck you.
Amazing.
Your eyes are 30 years younger than the rest of you. Your ears don't match. Your right arm is 2 inches longer than your left. And how's your dancing? Because you got 2 left feet.
It's a long plane.
They're all pretty long. 30 to 45 rows, unless you're going across the ocean. Then they get longer.
Undeniably. Unless you're flying to Luton.
Yeah, which there's no way Luton has an airport. Let's be serious.
Oh, they do. They do.
Wait,
but
really?
it is called the Luton London Airport because it is in Luton, but they need to call it London for better SEO.
That sounds about right.
Welcome to the Luton Factoid podcast. Turn into our next episode where you'll learn about straw hats.
I'm on the Wikipedia page for the London Luton Airport. And at first I was impressed because I was like, wow, it's an international airport. But then I realized that that's a very different thing in Europe.
That is true. All the countries are like 6 feet across. Well, anyway, another thing I wanted to talk about today, aside from obviously our scheduled discussion of Luton and its airport and distance from various other cities in England, is there's this Doctor Who episode called The Doctor's Wife.
Oh, right.
That now I have another plane. God damn it. Calm down, Burbank. Not that cool.
Gotta get to and from Burbank.
Valley of Harpy and TARDISes. You thinking what I'm thinking?
I'm thinking all of my sisters are dead.
I don't know how y'all discuss this, but this is a spoiler for the ending, and I assume you prefer to talk about episodes chronologically, so I'll wait.
No, I mean, there's no structure to this at all.
He'll be fine. He's a Time Lord.
It's just what they're called. It doesn't mean he actually knows what he's doing.
If you're watching the video and you're like, what is Sarah up to over there? Sarah thought that now, while actively filming the podcast, was a good time to try to set up a new ring light.
Oh.
That's how ADHD works, people.
I love it. I love it so much.
Keep back, Francis Swan. She bites!
Do I? Excellent.
That does imply that your fix for I have a plane, so I will continue this line of thinking once the plane is done.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna use this opportunity to run. I'm gonna run and grab a thing.
Diet.
I have no idea what's happening over there.
I've never had a guest just leave midway through.
I think Sarah was overestimating how long that plane was going to be in. It was going to be a problem. We just the rest of this podcast also just has a live feed from Sarah's house. Just every episode is like, let's check in on Sarah. Well, she's not in her office area, so I don't know what she's up to.
Continues to not be there. Also, we need to get an edit of Ben correcting whenever we talk about, like, we mentioned a doctor. It was like, oh, actually, Matt Smith is the first Doctor.
Yes, that's a good idea. That's a good idea that definitely won't get old. Hi, Sarah.
Hi, I'm back. I failed. I failed on my mission. I just wasted all of our time for nothing.
What was your mission? I didn't even...
I was trying to find a USB, plug brick.
Ah.
But all I have is USB-C these days.
Yeah, we're moving in that direction.
Yes, but sadly my ring light isn't.
No.
Keslavai.
This is the problem. This is exactly what I'm talking about. If things were put in order, then you would only have the USB cables that you'd need. But now you have some from the future and some from the past, and it gets all convoluted and complicated. And that, one day, here's the answer to your question, Sarah. One day, I was watching Doctor Who, and I was trying to find my phone charger, and all I could find were USB-C cables, and I was like, you know what? I've had enough. I have to edit Doctor Who into chronological order.
Gotta make it right.
That would drive any woman insane.
It's true.
Drive her to drastic measure.